Hey there, Frailers. Dry your eyes, my little friend. Let me take you by the hand. Freddie getting ready. Rock steady when Johnny strikes up the band. He'll be rocking in the projects, walking down along the Strand. Freddie getting ready, rock steady when Johnny strikes up the band. 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 And Johnny is my main man. He's the keeper of the keys. He'll put your mind at ease. He's guaranteed to please, backed by popular demand. Look around, my little friend. Jubilation in the land. Freddie getting ready. Rock steady when Johnny strikes up the band. 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 Hey folks, well that's a little rough version of When Johnny Strikes Up the Band by Warren Zevon, and I'll give you a little show about how I play it. Now one thing I should tell you guys is that or folks, is that generally speaking I don't like practice these songs. I learn them a little bit and I play them for you, and I don't necessarily want you to play them exactly the way I play them. I want, they're loose enough, and I give you the chords, and I want you to take them and experiment with them and try your own little things around them. You may find that you discover something that's better than, or that you like better than how I'm doing it, because I play with with my style, and I kind of make these things up and I wing them a little bit, and it's up to you to take them and run with them, and if you like the song enough to work on it and make it your own. Anyway, so I'm going to start out here with that little intro. I'm just kind of noodling on that one, but it's basically playing a D7, but the main thing is playing on the B string, so it's kind of an alternating, and then I'm plucking up on the 5th string. So this is not quite the Frailing strum, this is a variation, so I'm kind of going. It's really more like a double thumbing. It's almost like you're using your middle finger, kind of like a guitar pick, you're just downstroke. Frailing, but it's not exactly the Frailing strum. And then it goes into the main verse, which goes to a D. Dry your eyes, my little friend. So it's D to G. Dry your eyes, my little, to G to C. Friend, back to G. D, G, C, G. So it's dry your eyes, my little friend. Let me take you by the hand. And then goes to the Freddie getting ready. That's a G. So D to G again. Freddie getting ready to C. Rock steady to G. And then it goes to E minor. When Johnny. So it's really going from E minor to G, E minor to C, or it's like, let's see. He strikes up, Johnny strikes up. That's right, it's E minor to G, to C to G. So it's Johnny strikes up the band. In some cases, I don't necessarily do the frailing strum there. Sometimes I'm literally just striking down with my middle finger on the first on the chord. So it's you can play around with that. You can try it with double thumbing, kind of. Or you can do it the way I told you. Just sometimes I'll do a hammer on instead of strumming. So the whole point is you're given the rules of the frailing strum, but then you break them. So you try, you know, you don't necessarily have to hit. You know, you can, when you're doing your strum, you know, we're taught that it's a single string and then a strum and then a pluck. But once you start playing a little faster, most of the time you're not really doing a strum. You're doing single string. You're doing two strings. So it's not always just a straight. Anyway, back to the song. So Johnny strikes up the band. Johnny strikes up the band. And then it goes into the second verse. We'll be rocking in the projects, walking down along the strand. So again, it's G, it's D, G, C, G, D, G, C, G. And then back to when Johnny strikes up the band. Johnny strikes up the band. And then goes into C. And Johnny, so this is really Johnny strikes up the band. Johnny strikes. Johnny strikes up the band. Johnny strikes up the band. Johnny strikes up the band. So it's E minor. When Johnny, back to D, strikes up the C, band, Johnny G to G, strikes up the back to E. Johnny to D, strikes up the band. Johnny strikes up the band. Johnny strikes up the band. Johnny to D, strikes up the band, back to G. That I'm just doing that little slide here from on the second string there, and then it goes into that little bridge, and Johnny is, and that's a G, Johnny is my, back to C, main man, so that's just, so G is C, G, he's the keeper of the keys, that's an E minor. Back to G, he'll put your mind at ease. Back to C, guaranteed. I'm sorry, let's try it again. E minor, keeper of the keys, guaranteed to please. Back to C, there it is. Like my popular duh. Now you can either go to D. I usually do a D7 here. Man, which allows you to kind of repeat that little opening riff here. And then it goes to a D, a full D. Look around, my little friend. So it's the verse again. Jubilation in the land. Try to get ready. Rock steady when Johnny strikes up the band. 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 up with that little Now, I had a question during the week about hammer-ons, and I hammer on almost really within every stroke. So the whole idea is that, you know, you got your basic bum ditty. As you go faster and you get better, that strum becomes simpler and simpler. Sometimes it's just so you're barely, you know, you're really not hitting more than one or two strings for the strum. But the other thing is, I almost always, I turned it into what we call a bump-a-ditty. So rather than being a quarter note followed by 2/8 notes, I break that quarter note up into 2/8 notes. So it's really, so it really ends up being. And the way I do it, and there are a couple of ways of doing it, the way I do it is I always hammer on. So it's like. So that hammer on, or a slide in some cases, sometimes it's, or it can be a pull up. Or the other thing is some people like to do drop thumb there. So instead of doing the hammer on, it always comes after that first note. So it's always after the, it can be the strike, strum thumb. So it can be a strike, hammer on, strum thumb, or it can be a strike and you can hammer on a different strings. But some people prefer to do drop thumb. I'll do that occasionally, but I don't do it very often. But that would be, you know, you're basically doing the same. The whole goal is to take that first quarter note and break it up into two. So you're really accomplishing the same thing either way. You can do the hammer-ons. The whole idea, though, is eventually you get to the point. I'm still getting there. You can do double where you're doing double thumbing, but you can vary your rhythms. Getting dynamics. there's some times when it might be appropriate in the middle of a song to actually switch and do a little three finger. I can't really do bluegrass style, which is one of the reasons I frail. If you find it's easier for you to do softer passages doing something like this, then, you know, go for that. But truth is, once you get control over your frailing stroke, you can do the same thing. Anyway, that's my little lecture for today. I find that the frailing strum for banjo gets me pretty much wherever I need to go. But you don't have to stick strictly with the bum ditty. There's all kinds of little variations you learn. I think it's important to get the bum ditty, if you want to call it that, the strike, strum, thumb, down really solidly so that you don't even have to think about that part. For the most part, when I'm playing, I'm not thinking very much about what my right hand is doing. I'm more thinking about what my left hand is doing and what I'm singing. But it takes practice to get to that point. Anyway, you guys have a good week, and take care. Bye.